Minister Saqib Bhatti.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I thank the Minister for that excellent statement and for advance sight of it. As we approach anniversaries of VE Day and VJ Day, we look forward to the whole nation coming together to celebrate the end of the fighting in Europe, the surrender of Japan, victory over our adversaries and the end of the Second World War. At times like this, we see Britain at its best, where the whole nation comes together to pay tribute to a generation who made unimaginable sacrifices, often putting down their lives in the service of this country, in the service of good over evil. Both victory in Europe and victory over Japan Day should forever be etched in our memories. On VE Day across the Western world, millions rejoiced, relieved that the years of conflict and immense hardship were finally coming to an end. Millions of people up and down the country, including our late Queen, Queen Elizabeth II, came together to celebrate the end of fighting in Europe. And for a long time, Britain stood alone as it stood up to evil. But with support from its allies, we defeated Nazi Germany and liberated Europe from fascism. But whilst celebrations on the streets went on, thousands of British, Commonwealth and Allied armed forces were still involved in brutal fighting in the Far East. We are forever in debt to those brave souls who fought to defend this country. I also want to pay tribute to all those who are currently serving in our armed forces. From putting themselves in harm's way to spending time away from their families, their service and sacrifice deserves our deep gratitude. And I reflect on those who continue to give their lives for our country. Individuals like Rifleman Joseph Murphy, previously of my constituency, who lost his life in Afghanistan while trying to carry a fallen comrade to safety. Or my old school friend, Flight Lieutenant Rakesh Chauhan, a RAF officer who lost his life in Afghanistan. Madam Deputy Speaker, one of the hardest decisions we will ever have to make in this House is the decision to send our brave men and women to war. And I reflect on the cries of anguish from Rakesh's parents, which still reverberates within my heart. And I reflect on those difficult decisions that we will have to make, and the sacrifices of our brave soldiers from today and of yesteryear, and the pain of those loved ones who are left behind. So to all those serving, those who have served, to all those who have sacrificed, we say thank you. We also remember the sacrifice of soldiers from the Commonwealth. Whenever I walk down Whitehall, I often take a moment to look at the statue of Field Marshal William Slim, the commander of the 14th Army, the Forgotten Army. The sacrifice of his troops at crucial battles like Impal and Kohima can never be forgotten, and I hope events like VJ will help to reinforce the sacrifice of British and Commonwealth troops in defeating Japan. By the end of the Second World War, over 2.5 million soldiers from India volunteered in the fight against evil. These celebrations must mark the heroic contribution of soldiers from modern-day India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Australia, New Zealand, the Caribbean, Africa and Canada. These were troops from Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, Sikh and other faiths and backgrounds who fought side by side, irrespective of race or religion, to stand up for the values that we all hold dear: freedom, liberty and the rule of law. So I welcome the Minister's announcement on our shared story. The stories of the Second World War should be passed from generation to generation, and our young people must know about the sacrifices that were made in generations past, as they will have to face the challenges of tomorrow. And as we celebrate the conclusion of the Second World War, it is also right that we focus our minds on Europe's first major conflict since 1945, because it is hard to recall in recent memory a time of such danger and uncertainty. Our world has profoundly changed, and because of the tyranny of Vladimir Putin and his unjustified barbaric invasion of Ukraine, once again the spectre of war looms over Europe. The forces shaping our world, a warmonger in the Kremlin, conflict in the Middle East and extremism poisoning young minds, we must value our armed forces today, now more than ever. And I also hope that when we do these celebrations, we can also celebrate peace in Ukraine. And turning to the plans the Minister has outlined, I'd like to put on record the opposition's wholehearted support for the government's plans. We want this day to be a day of joy, reflection and celebration. So will the Minister join me in encouraging as many people as possible to take the opportunity to reflect on and mark this important anniversary in our history? Will the Minister also work with local government and local councils to make sure those that need planning or need support and want to celebrate can do exactly that? And does she agree that with the spectre of war looming over Europe, we must value the contribution of our armed forces now more than ever? The 80th anniversaries are an opportunity to remember the sacrifice and shared determination of the people who saw us through this dark period, and it is right that their service is properly commemorated. And I pay tribute to organisations like the Royal British Legion and Troop Aid, who serve my constituency, who will help these events take place. And I look forward to working with the government to make sure that we do right by our brave men and women in the armed forces.
Stop. Thank you. Well,